of the White Belt MMA podcast, and it's an absolute pleasure to have on the show today. UFC Welterweight Orion Cosce, who's just coming off a big win over Blood Diamond at UFC 277 in Dallas. So, my first question, Orion, is how you doing today, my man?
Oh, doing good, doing good. Just finally got back home to Sacramento. We live in Roseville, so I was in San Diego after the fight for about a week on vacation. We usually do that in the summer for about 1 or 2 weeks, and for the last this is the third time now where San Diego has either been before or after one of my fights. So it's nice to go right after I win.
There you go, man. You get to enjoy some good food after, you know what I mean? Especially, after a fight, man, I can only imagine, right? A bunch of fighters, right? Cutting weight and everything like that. But after they have to indulge in some food, right? So did you get anything good? Some steak, some burgers? What are we talking here?
Seafood. I was down in San Diego, so for me it was seafood, man. I really like that lobster, crab, mussels, clams, oysters, stuff like that. So we were able to keep it a little bit different, but honestly, man, it was I didn't eat it too much, but I definitely had some gelato.
There you go.
I like me some good old in homemade gelato. So
There you go. Can never go too wrong with that, my man. So yeah, man. So yeah, like dude, like we said at the start, right? Like, you just coming off a big win at UFC 277 against Blood Diamond. So first things first, man, is how you feeling after the fight, man? Because man, it was one of those fights. It was kind of, you kind of have to dig deep, grind down, especially in that third round. But you know,
yeah.
how you feeling after? Just tell us a little bit about fight week and how'd you feel going in there? Yeah.
Right now I feel good. Going into fight week, I feel great. It's just that weight cut, man. That weight did not want to come off. The last pound and a half did not want to come off. We spent 15 hours trying to cut the weight, something that usually only takes me like 4 hours,
Mm.
maybe even 3 hours to cut. That one, just the weight refused. Like I was sweating, but it was weird. So definitely gonna have to change it up in the future with how I do my water load because that's the same weight cut I've been doing since I was 19. So maybe my body just changed finally, and it was like, no, not this time. But it is what it is. You know, I've talked about it quite a bit. It's just one of those things where it can't happen again. I can't let it happen again. I can't be that guy who just keeps missing weight. But even though I missed weight, it was one of those I literally was waiting until the last minute. I was sitting in a sauna like pod for an hour, waiting until the very last minute of cutoff to go weigh in. I wasn't that guy who comes in at like 9:30, weighs in and says, I'm not cutting more weight.
Mm.
So I try to make weight the best I can, but it definitely feels good getting that win.
Yeah, 100%. And like you said it right there, man. You're legitimately couldn't win until the last minute. And I was watching an interview you had with James Lynch, and you said that the UFC brass, what I mean, they're you're apologizing to them, and then they said that it was obviously like you missed weight, but they were like, hey man, it's okay, it happens. Do you think the fact that they saw that you were legitimately trying to lose every bit of weight you could
So
until that last minute kind of cut you that slack? Yeah.
I believe so. I truly believe so. It's one of those where I'm walking in and they're like, "Hey, Ryan, how's it going?" I was like, "Dude, I'm so sorry." I was like, "I try to make the weight. I'll go cut more." They're all, "Dude, just weigh in. You're fine. Like, we understand." Because they have the UFC PI people on staff coming in, like, monitoring me. And then obviously the doctor tried to, convince my team that, they wanted to pull. He's trying to tell the UFC if I would have kept weight more, he would have pulled. And then he was trying to, see how I was for a little bit, even after the weigh in, making sure I'm not like dizzy, fainted, all that stuff. But yeah, no, I'm glad I didn't get pulled out of the fight. I managed to go out there. I felt like crap, dude. I felt pretty crappy going in to the second round and the third round. My body was just fatigued because that weight cut. I was puking. I had diarrhea right after the weight cut and stuff like that because my body was so overheated. I was just having cold sweats. I had to go like sit inside a hot shower because how cold my body felt. I was like, damn, like this sucks. So I was trying to like heat it back up, but yeah, no, that was one of those ones where definitely I had to dig deeper than ever because of the way my body was feeling. But I feel a lot better than I did then. So I'm glad I got the W.
There you go. And you kind of mentioned it right there, right? Between round two and three, what I mean? Like you felt exhausted. You felt like you had to dig deep. Do you think that the little speech that your brother gave you in between rounds. You know what I mean? Your brother, who's also in the UFC, Lewis Koski, and welterweight as well. You think that speech he gave you, so kind of get back in there into round three and implement your game plan, kind of helped you dig deep and go from there?
That's always gonna help having my
Yeah.
brother in the corner. So it doesn't matter. I could have been like whooping ass the entire time. He'd still be like, "Hey, you get out there and you get the finish. Don't be leaving this to the judges." So it's always good being able to hear those words of wisdom from the brotherly love.
There you go, man. There you go. So yeah, man, you ultimately get the decision, right? So after that day, I don't know, you said you were feeling kind of crappy. Were you able to at least enjoy the night out after? Were you able to watch the fights after? The Julian and Penny and Amanda Nunes fight. That was a classic in
Oh
many people's eyes. So were you
yeah,
able
no,
to
no.
enjoy it a little bit?
After the fight,
Yeah.
I managed to go and finally eat food. So after the weigh-in, I barely ate.
Mm.
The morning of the fight, I barely ate. I barely had like I could barely eat. And then once the fight was done, I went and I just kind of like started slowly eating. And I just told myself, I was like, dude, I don't care if this makes me feel bad later. I have to force myself to eat because of I had so minimal food intake that day that I was like, dude, I'm just gonna feel worse if I don't force myself. So we ended up going out, getting food. Me and the team, my wife joined us, and then we watched the fights as well. We weren't able to watch the fights at the event
Mm.
because we had to take off, but it was definitely we got to enjoy the fights and watch how great they were.
Yeah, I mean, I do have to ask, man, what you think about that main event with Juliana and Pena and Amanda Nunes? Because I mean, obviously Amanda Nunes she won, but we just saw that we just had another example that Juliana Pena is just a dog. So for you, what someone that's in the sport, what you think about it?
She's a dog, but that was a one-sided ass whooping.
Yeah,
That was definitely and it's funny too because people are like, "Oh man, she deserves a rematch," and it's like, why? She got 50-43.
yeah,
Like, did you give it a 50-45? Obviously, wasn't watching the fight. The 50-44 judge makes sense. 50-43 makes absolute sense. But 50-45, when it was absolutely like there is easily at least two 10-8 rounds or even, a 10-7 round to score in that fight, it made zero sense. But that's the way the judging works. That's why on my fight too, I was looking for the finish in the third round because I just don't even trust judges and how they see things. But no, I don't think Pena deserves a rematch at all. She won against Nunes with a submission win. Yeah, that's true. But she never did anything to signify getting an immediate rematch. She literally just got her ass whipped for 5 straight rounds.
mm, totally.
Like, had she been winning the fight and then Nunes like clipped her and finished her, that's one thing. But she got her ass beat for 5 straight rounds. You don't get a rematch. No.
Yeah.
You got outclassed. There's no rematch after that.
Yeah, 100%. Do you think the Valentina trilogy bout is on the horizon? I know there were some talks there. I mean, in your opinion, what would you do if you were Dana and you're in Dana White's shoes? You were trying to find Amanda Nunes. Amanda
I would
Nunes' next opponent.
I would find out whether or not Nunes wants to defend at 45
Mhm.
or if she wants to accept the Valentina Shevchenko fight. So Valentina needs to make that decision though, because Valentina would have to bump up to 35. And that was the other thing too. I don't know why Pena was trying to talk about how Shevchenko dropped weight because it's easier. The real champs are at 135. It's like, dude, you lost to Shevchenko. You can't talk shit. She literally submitted you. You can't say anything. So I'd like to see Shevchenko jump up to 135 because she's had two very good fights against Nunes. Um, but Nunes does have the option. She can either defend at 135 against a very potential trilogy fight with Shevchenko, or there is that 145-pound division that if she's still going to be champion of it, she needs to defend it against somebody.
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. So can't wait to see what Amanda does next. But you know, just to bring it back to you, man. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, we talked about your UFC 277 fight. That was awesome. But it is the first time I have you on here, and the first time I have anybody on here. I always like to ask, how did they get their start in the sport, right? Because some people stumble upon it, other people get through it through family. So you, my man, what was your story? How'd you get your start in combat sports?
It's pretty simple. My brother and I, we grew up wrestling from a very young age, and we grew up watching the UFC and early Pride fights, WC, Strikeforce, and all that stuff. So we'd go home, and as little kids, excuse me, but we'd go home and instead of doing homework, we'd just start fighting. Like that was our homework card. That would have us fighting and stuff. Or he would have his friends bring over their kids. And again, we grew up in the woods. So like our friends were coming over, we'd put on the boxing gloves, we'd start boxing, we'd start wrestling, all that stuff. We had secret little fight clubs um for school and stuff where we were getting off the school bus just to go meet up in the woods and like pretty much fight. But it wasn't like a fight to hurt each other. We were just fighting because we liked it. We grew up on Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z and stuff like that. We grew up watching the fights. So we kind of knew that we wanted to do something with sports, and fighting was definitely going to be one of those things that we can have an outlet with sports. Like I could have kept going to college. I went to college for a year, and then I tried to keep going after that, but I was so just fed up with it. I was so tired of it, and it wasn't really hard to keep the grades up. I just told myself there's really no more passion or love for education when it's kind of just a waste of time. And my brother and I, we both knew that we wanted to fight, so we just started fighting. And he actually ended up fighting before I did, so that's when I knew I was like, dude, like we can both be doing this. And so we just kept fighting and fighting.
That's awesome. And for you, man, like like you said, someone that grew up loving fighting, right? Meeting up in the woods. I mean, setting up little bouts here and there, and then seeing your brother kind of go into fighting first, and then I saw in the interview, or like one of your other interviews, saying that you were actually cornering him in that fight. So how did that feel, seeing your brother actually getting into the cage that first time, and then tell us a little bit more about that conversation, saying that like, hey, man, let's get into it, man. Ride or die, both of us. Let's see if we can make it to the top.
Yeah, no. So we always had a tendency of cornering each other in fights. So there's only been a few times where we never did, and that was either because we either fought on the same night in two different locations, or we had fights on the same night. So if we have a fight on the same night, we don't do it. And then the only reason I didn't corner him his last fight, which is quite a bit ago now, because he had to get shoulder surgery on both shoulders, but was because I was dealing with my own shoulder injury and like the neck injury and all that stuff, where my whole entire like pec, arm was just completely numb, and it was just nerve damage, pinched nerves everywhere and stuff like that. So I wasn't going to be able to do anything. So we had other people go in his corner as well, which it's known off to them. They're always going to be good. But there is something about having your brother like cussing you out a little bit to make sure you're doing better, driving, push. So yeah, for this next fight, I'll definitely be in his corner. But it's always good having each other because we push each other better than anyone else can push us.
Oh yeah, 100%, man. And like, also to kind of, backtrack a little bit too, man. Like you said, like moment you said that you wanted to get into fighting and everything like that, and I mean, like you ultimately ended up taking that decision. Tell us a little bit about your first fight experience, because you said that your brother, went in first, but then tell us about your first experience going into the cage, man. How was that? Were there any nerves, or was it just another day in the office? You just, put on an episode of Dragon Ball Z just to hype you up and just went from there?
So I wasn't nervous until I finally stepped in. So it was for a So You Want to Fight competition where you paid $50 to enter or $25 to enter. And if as long as you had two fights, you'd win $500. If you had three fights, it was 750, and if it was four fights, it was 1,000. And it just worked out different ways, right? But my first time going in, I did the competition at 185. That way my brother could do it at 170. We're just like, dude, it's whatever. We don't really have to cut too much weight. We train. A lot of these guys are just here hoping like they can swing and knock somebody out. So we went in at heavier weight classes, and I wasn't as big as it was now, than I was then. I'm a lot bigger now than I was then. And this first guy I fought, he was from Fort Bragg, and I'm 19 at the time. I think he was like 29 or something like that, or 28. And I just go in there and I'm like, dude, this isn't a wrestling match. Just people cheering. Like this is completely different. And it's inside a ring, not an octagon. So I got like 8 takedowns, and I was able to work like a lot of ground control. And mind you that every single fight is only 3 minutes long. So you have 3 minutes to try to convince the judges why you won, or you just finish the fight, right? So I'm trying to finish the fight. I'm getting my takedowns. I'm threatening submissions. I'm doing a good job with like the takedown. Like I didn't get a single punch landed on me, and this is the reason I hate judges to this day. is because after the fight's over, it was pretty clear who won that fight. Even the dude, he's all, dude, how old are you? I was like 19. He's all, you're gonna do really, really good in the sport. Wow, that's he's all, man, I couldn't do anything against you. I couldn't even land a punch. Good job. And then we hear, and the winner by split decision. I'm just like, what the hell? And like they raised my hand, but I'm pissed. So I was like, dude, there was a judge who thought I lost that fight. And so I went over to the promoter. He's all, hey, I just went over and I fired that judge right on the spot. We're going to bring somebody else in because there's no way in hell that should have ever happened. I was like, all right, cool. Thanks, Don. But my brother and I, we both ended up winning that tournament. And that was our like first tournaments and stuff like that. And that was our first like start into actual MMA stuff. So that's what got us into it. And we just kept going, dude. We just had a fun time with it. And we're like, dude, let's just keep fighting. Like more fights, more fights. And there were times where, there's like a year or two where we didn't get a fight because whether it would be injuries or our opponents last minute would get injured or someone would back out and we just couldn't get a fight matched up. And then, yeah, it just kept going from there. Even when I wanted to turn pro, I think it was like a year and a half, almost 2 years between my last amateur fight and my first professional fight because we just kept trying to find fights and it was so hard. So I just got to the point where I was like, dude, I don't need to fight in fucking California. I can travel. Like, I'm not going to wait for a fight in California. I'm not waiting anymore. And I went to Wisconsin. I got my first fight there as a pro.
There you go, man. And then you eventually ended up, both you and your brother, man, getting all the way to the top, getting the call for the contender series. So tell us a little bit about that. You know what I mean? Like I saw another interview, man, that you were supposed to get a short notice fight, but that didn't pan out. So talk to us a little bit about that, and yeah, man, go from there.
Yeah, so the short notice fight that I was supposed to get before contenders wasn't going to work out because it was like 1 week's notice. And I told him, I was like, hey, if the fight's at 185, I can easily do 1 week notice, but it's at 170. I was like, I'm not going to be able to cut that weight in 1 week. I would need at least, 2 or 3 weeks. And they're like, hey, not a problem. And then I got the phone call from Jason. He's all, hey, brother, I got some surprising news. Please tell me that you can wait a little bit, though. I was like, cool. I was like, that sounds good. But then, like, a couple of weeks goes by. I was like, yo, bro, like, am I getting a fight or not? Like, he's all, just bear with me. Like, you have a fight, I promise. I was like, then what is it? He's all, oh, just wait, just hold on. And I got to the point, I was like, bro, hey, I ain't gonna lie. Like, if I don't got to fight, you can just tell me. Like, I just want to fight, though. I don't care where it's at. He's all right. I didn't want to spoil the surprise, but I got you and your brother on contender series. I was like, well, shit, man, that's all you had to say. And at that point, I was like, so what is it? And then he told me when the date was. I was like, bro, that's still months away. He's all, I know. That's why I didn't want to say anything first. And I knew you were training. And I was like, well, hey, at least I know for a fact that we have something lined up, right? He's like, yeah. And I was like, all right, cool. And then they brought because the prospect they gave me, he was supposed to be one of the top prospects at the time, Matt Dixon. But I mean, I don't know what happened to him after that fight.
No, yeah, man. And then you get the contender series, right, man? And you get the win and all that. And I saw that you were in another interview, you were talking about like a story about Dana White and kind of laughing about thinking, confusing you and your brother, thinking that you went out there when your brother was fighting. So tell us a little bit about that, because I mean that was just a funny story just to hear about how Dana was just being same old Dana with these stuff with the things he was saying.
No, yeah. You know what? You're the first interviewer where it's like you're actually paying attention to other interviews with these fighters before you interview them. So I actually appreciate that because all these other guys, they ask the same generic question as if it's like they've never seen the interview and as if they've never heard like the answers already. But you're actually bringing up some shit that I haven't talked about in a while. So it's actually kind of nice. So I like the way you're doing this. It's good.
Appreciate
That's
that,
good.
bro. Thank you.
Yeah, no, with the whole entire Dana White thing. So afterwards, I was like, hey, man, my brother's like, yo, you Dana White? He's like, yeah. He's all, cool. Can you get a photo? He's like, who, me? He's like, yeah, you. He's like, you're my boss now. And so we were chit chatting about that. I was like, so you thought I gave up? Huh? I was like, so you think I'm a quitter? He's like, no, no, no. I was like, no, I'm just giving you shit. I was like, it won't happen again. So we shot the shit right then and there about me like doing the glove touch. And like he's like, dude, because every time I see that, usually those fighters they end up like quitting, like they end up losing. I was like, nah, it's just me being respectful. I'm not the shit talking guy. Like I like going out there, I like having fun. Yeah, so it was a good time. But being Dana White was really cool. And then obviously you got to see him again. And he actually gave a pretty good pep talk right before, he was talking about how like all the prelim fighters are going to be like on ABC or ESPN Plus and stuff like that. And then he let us know too. He's like, and you guys that are the first fight of the night, like, hey, go out there. There's going to be people watching. They're waiting to, have this fight card start off with a bang. So go out there, put on a fun fight. And it's kind of cool because that's what me and Blood Diamond did, dude. We went out there and we managed to land a double spinning back fist on each other.
Yeah, man, that was crazy too. You even got DC and Joe Rogan kind of losing their minds and everything like that. I mean, if anything, it was if I had to compare, it legitimately was one of those Dragon Ball Z moments, right? Like you see those episodes that
Yeah.
the Goku is going against someone else, they both get a good hit on each other, and like I said at the start, like I mentioned off camera, I was gonna ask you about this. Now it's the time to ask you about this, man. You got the Dragon Ball Z, you got the dragon on your shoulder. Tell us a little bit about how'd you get into Dragon Ball Z, and then after that, tell me your favorite moment. It might be a broad question, but like there has to be one moment that like you always think about when you think about Goku and Dragon Ball Z.
Okay. So I got into Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z when I was a kid. So I mean that's I grew up watching it. I grew up watching it, grew up reading it, playing the video games and stuff like that. So definitely is like it's by far my favorite when it comes to anything. I even got like Dragon Ball Z backpacks and stuff like that, and socks, shoes, shorts, like you name it, I got it. But I'd have to say my favorite moment still to this day is when he turns Super Saiyan for the first time. Like there's
Yep,
nothing like.
yep.
But then again, on like in Super, that was pretty cool when he turned Ultra Instinct. The fight against Jiren, that was pretty badass. But there's nothing like that fight against Frieza. The whole entire Frieza arc was awesome. Gohan turning Super Saiyan 2 for the first time was pretty damn epic. But Goku turning Super Saiyan for the first time and what led up to it and how that fight played out, that's pretty epic right there. So that's my favorite.
Yeah, 100%. Were you a fan of the Dragon Ball GT series or nah? Because I'll be
Some
honest with
stuff,
me, that too. Yeah,
some stuff with GT was good. I definitely the like ending fights and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, there's a reason why Akira Toriyama came out years later and said, "Hey man, we got to make it to where GT is no longer canon."
yeah. Because I mean, even for me, man, like I was a kid and that came out, I was just like, man, I like it just to go who's there, but it just doesn't feel right. You know what I mean? But
Yeah, no. So GT does have its moments, I'll say that, but GT is not as good as Z was. But I mean, Dragon Ball, where it all started from when Goku was a kid and Team Goku, like if people don't watch that, they ain't fans. So I need, the people that like want to start Dragon Ball Z, they need to start with Dragon Ball first. Like you have to start the whole journey. It's a journey.
there you go. So I'll make sure to clip this in one of the clips that I put out too, right? If you're a fan if you're trying to get to Dragon Ball Z, there you go. That's your selling point right there.
Yeah, no, seriously. You got to watch the battle against Red Ribbon Army, and then you got to watch Path to Power. So
There you go, man. There you go. So yeah, man. So like I said at the start, man, I don't want to keep you for too long, right? So I just had to throw that fun question in there, right? So my final question, my man, and it's gonna be again one of your generic questions, but after UFC 277, man, and when are you looking to get back in there, man? Maybe late fall, early fall, or you go from there. Like, what are you looking at right now? Yeah.
if UFC could get me on the same card as my brother, that'd be great. Or just any time, maybe even like the week after or the weekend after. So I got to talk to my manager still and see if we can get back in. When I was in San Diego, I was swimming a lot, went for a run, worked out a little bit, and then just making sure I was staying in shape. I ate mostly healthy while I was down there too. The only time I didn't eat healthy was like if I had like a dessert just to try it out or something like that. But that was even like I didn't do that every single day. I did that maybe like once or twice. So hopefully they can get me in sooner than later. I don't like waiting too long. And then if they want to get me in on 170, we can do that. If they want to get me on 185, we can do that as well. So either one's fine with me. Um, but yeah, I'm back in the gym tomorrow, just back to full training. So
There you go.
however soon I can get back in, I'd love to. I don't like waiting too much.
There you go, man. I can't wait to see you next bout, my man. So before we go, man, do you want to plug in all your social media so everyone watching can follow you, my man?
Yeah, so just on Instagram and Twitter, it's at Galaxy Cosce. It's pretty simple. Or just type in my name, Orion Cosce, and then you'll be able to find me. If you try to add me on Facebook, I probably won't add it back because on Facebook, I'm not really trying to be there with too many like people that are just fans. Like people want to follow, they can follow. I'm not the kind of guy who's just gonna like. I get all these sort of feel. I have somebody who like right before I did this, I was checking my messages. I was like, "What the hell?" And some dude's all, "Orion, I love you. I'm your world's biggest fan. Please follow me back." And it's just like a brand new account that was made. I was like, "I don't know, what a weirdo," and I delete it.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I get that all the time. I'm like, "How are you my world's biggest fan, but you just started an account?" Like,
I know, right? Some
I'm just like, whatever. I just usually delete those, so I don't even pay attention to them. But I always did a good smile about it. I'll show my wife or like family and friends. I'm like, yo, check this out. I had this one guy. He's all, Orion, please follow me back. I'll love you forever. And it's like the next message was like, he, the dude put like please 15 times.
Oh God.
And I was like, oh, you're one of those. And I just deleted it. I'm like, oh God, no, no, please.
See, next thing you know, you just see that he's just stalking you outside your house. You're like, nah, man, let's put an end to this right now. Let's delete
Yeah, yeah. I don't need that.
this.
I don't need that. What is it? The movie, Misery. I didn't need to have him like trying to tie me to a bed, breaking my knee, saying he wants me to write a book or something like that. So,
Yeah, man. But hey, man, it's the I'm not gonna. I was about to say perks, but it's one of the cons of getting big in the sport, my man. So
yep,
yeah, my
yes,
man.
that's the problem with it. So hopefully I can get some more fights and get some more fans and go from there. But yeah, definitely looking forward to going home. So I grew up in Humboldt. We have a Sovereign's Day parade that we do every year, and I haven't been doing it in a couple of years. So this year I'm going to finally go. And my wife hasn't ever been, so I'm going to take her to one of the ceremonial dances that our tribe does with the tribes that are nearby. Let her experience that as well, and then go and hang out with some family and friends. So it'd be good. Go do some more swimming.
There you go, my man. There you go, man. I wish you all the best there, my man. And again, Orion, man, thanks for the time, man. You didn't have to do this, but I really appreciate this. And yeah, man, follow Orion on all social medias. Don't be a weirdo. Don't send weird messages, but give him a follow. Support his journey. And yeah, man, to everyone watching,
Uh,
peace.